Hi, everybody. Hope everyone had a wonderful Palm Sunday. We're talking 1,719 days, I believe. It might be 18 days. I just posted it, but it is so late. We're really burning the midnight oil. We're almost at 1 o'clock, just because it can't be helped. So much information is coming in. And I want to thank everyone, even on a Sunday, for sending us information. I know I've heard a lot of um, complaints about Veronica Escobar. It's been almost 5 years since Richard was the Fort Bliss whistleblower reporting on criminal trafficking, being targeted, being severely and continuously retaliated against, um, because it was the unit. It was the Army. It was cartel tied in the Army using our taxpayer money, our base, to do their criminal activities and to conduct their criminal activities for billions of dollars. They make billions of dollars. This was not just a small operation. This was 10,000 children at one time. 10,000 children at a time, hundreds of thousands of children. And I couldn't even guess, because it's been going on over and over again. They've been so brazen, stealing the weapons and the ammunition and the equipment and vehicles and whatnot. I mean, and then those are taxpayer funded to protect our Constitution, our land, and our people. And now we have the executive order by the President of the United States, um, giving rights. Thank you, Danielle, for coming on. Um, for giving the military the power, empowering our military to respond and act to immigration laws, right? To engage in protecting immigration laws. And so they're at the border protecting our land, our people, and against illegal immigration, not immigration, but illegal immigration. So we, have been a country that loves immigrants. We are a volunteer country that tells you how much we love immigration, because the volunteer spirit of the United States, where you don't find that anywhere else. There's no other country in the world that has a volunteer spirit like the United States. It set us apart. It totally set us apart. And if you read Alex de Tocqueville, about the United States, about him coming, that's what he points out as separating the United States from any other country, is our volunteer spirit. And that's because of our immigration history, that, we love immigrants coming into this country, so much so that we volunteer to help feed them, to help find beds for them, to help find them jobs. We've just always been that way. And it's just been a huge part of our country's history. So you know, the narrative that there are some people in this country that don't like immigration is false. The What we don't like, and this is what I've heard in all kinds of circles, is unfair immigration and illegal immigration. And what do I mean about unfair immigration? Is that some have to stand in line, or some are not even allowed to come in this country, that want to come into the country, that are perfectly um, law abiding. They don't have any kind of criminal history or anything. But yet, if they come from a certain country, they're not allowed to come into this country. I know this from South Africa. Uh, I know this from Ireland, that South Africans that were put out of their job, and you heard about what's going on in South Africa with the farmers, and it's absolutely true. Because living in Ireland, um, there was a South African community in Ireland. Ireland had opened the doors up for people that had lost their jobs. It was a switched. Uh, it was a bad situation, and a lot of South Africans um, went to like other countries, like Australia or whatever, because America wouldn't take them in. So, and they were professionals. They were law abiding, you know. So that's an unfair immigration. And then and then the illegal immigration where you just walk in, you're not vetted at all. That's so this is the false narrative is that we're against immigration, and we're not. And the other false narrative is that President Trump is against immigration, and he's not. His whole family, just I mean, it's crazy. They really try to twist things and turn things, and we've been, had front seats to twisting and turning in our son's case, where they absolutely lied to law enforcement, to the media, through the media, to investigators. They just lied so much about our son's case. And we've had to be on this case every day to get it to where it is right now, where we have them acknowledging that Richard is a homicide case, that Richard was murdered in the line of duty on Fort Bliss for reporting criminal trafficking. So that is huge, and that's a step to get accountability and to get his remains, right? Accountability. And of course, at this point, restitution. Restitution, we don't really put up his rank. We don't really know what his rank is because of all the misinformation that we have gotten. And so we're working on that. We're working on that and all of the missing um, his missing belongings, and the missing evidence, 14 pieces of missing evidence that we've counted. So, it's to get the accountability first, that we needed to get them to acknowledge how he was killed and why he was killed. And then they can, um, um, get the public, really the public, the people have to drive this. That's why we come on every day. The people have to drive this. And and of course, the people in El Paso um, are the ones that were so manipulated because of the Walmart case, because of the judicial system there. The criminal justice system is broken, and it needs to be fixed. And so they have the most to gain to help us with the accountability of Richard, because that would be the acknowledgement that of all the other things that we have said that we're right on. We've been right all along, right? We've been right all along, and we're right about the criminal law magistrate court. We're right about the medical examiner. We're right about the DA's office. We're right about the federal courthouse. We're right about the Walmart mass shooting case. And so to to um, demand justice in Richard's case, it would bring all of that to light and force, drive um, those issues to be fixed. those issues to be fixed, because let me tell you, they're not going to do it unless the people demand it. They won't, because it's too much money, billions of dollars in criminal trafficking. But you have the greatest ally right now, and that's President Trump, because President Trump is turning off their spigots. He's turning off their spigots by blocking the trafficking paths, right? With the military protecting the border, and signing that. And I posted it up, the executive order where he is giving our military power over, to defend our country from illegal immigration. That's really something very, very new, very new. So that is really important. And then, of course, he's turning off the spigots with the U.S. aid. The U.S. aid that is uh, was really feeding a lot of these shelters that were up to no good. 10,000 children at a time on Fort Bliss. On Fort Bliss, 10,000 children at a time, and that was hundreds of thousands. And we're hearing it's have reached a million now, reached a million. So, and they're all thought to be, not all, but most thought to be dead. So this is, an emergency that requires the people to be inconvenienced, to be inconvenienced a little bit, because those that we've entrusted to secure our border, to uh, to demand that our laws be followed, right? To make sure that our laws are followed, and the oversight to make sure that those that we've charged to be law enforcers, that they will do their job and not be compromised. Um, uh, they have they've let us down. They've let us down, and they have compromised themselves, and so it's an inconvenience to us that we've paid our payers money, and that they have failed in their duty, and now we have to, um, you know, uh, uh, clean it up. Clean it up. We need to clean it up, and it all needs to be revamped so that this won't happen. This taking advantage. I think Palm Sunday is really the greatest example of what's going on here, because Jesus is trying to clean up the mess, trying to clean up the mess of all of the sin, right? All of the sin, all of the violations, and in the law of God, and this, the self-centeredness, um, the fraud, all of it. He's trying to clean it up, and he has this grand entry into Jerusalem. And I've been to Jerusalem, and I've been to the way. I've walked the way. And I've been to Golgotha. I've been to the Sea of Galilee. I sailed the Sea of Galilee, and I did that with Richard. We did that together. And we went to the Mount of Beatitudes. We went to, uh, the Dome of the Rock. We went to the Dome of the Rock and saw that, and up from the Mount Olives, you can look down into the city and see the Dome of the Rock. And we went to uh, where King David is buried, and you know, we went to Masada. We went to Masada. We went into the Salt Sea. I have so many memories of that trip. That was one of the last trips that we took together, and it was just fabulous. It was absolutely fabulous. And so this is a great example to show that, the palms, which are the flags, they were the flags for the Israelites at that time. The flags, they were waving the flags, Hosanna in the highest, glory to God. And they absolutely knew from all the evidence, from the self same day the age, the time, the timing, everything was absolutely perfect. And they knew that he was the Messiah, and they were waving um, the flags, the palms, and they expected to be, floated to heaven on beds, flowery beds of ease, meaning that he would just, conquer. He would do the conquering for them. You see, he would do the conquering of uh, the over the big hand government, um, the big brother, that he would conquer them for them, and they wouldn't have to do it, right? And Jesus just cried because they didn't get it. They didn't get it. And he knew that they would turn on him because what he was doing was um, conquering, or really paying for their sins, right? For their sins, and uh, changing the world in a much different way, where now we are um, we are empowered to establish justice, right? We're empowered by the blood of Christ to establish justice. We're commanded to do it. We're commanded. It's a hard job. It's an inconvenience. It's an inconvenience, but it's our commission to do it. And this is our commission to fight for our sons' rights, for our sons' good name that they wanted to smear. Um, and this has been given to us as a gift from God. And so, even though some can count it as a inconvenience, because it's a job. It's you have to work at it to establish justice, to do what's right. It doesn't come naturally for us. Um, the fraud comes naturally. The fraud and the theft, and uh, the criminal cabals, and getting over on each other, the selfishness. That's what comes naturally. We're fallen, and so now, um, Palm Sunday uh, is a declaration that a executive order is coming. An executive order is coming right from the cross, um, that He will empower us by His blood, by restitution and accountability, right? When we're held accountable and we pay the price, then we can start anew. We can start anew. And and we're empowered. We're empowered to, as the children of God, to establish justice. So that's, uh, and I didn't mean to get into that, but this is what Palm Sunday is really about, coming into Holy Week, and into Easter. And Easter is a new dawn, a new dawn, a new age, for those. And you can start over, and people want that, because we look in the mirror and we know that we need that. And so I hope you don't count it as a inconvenience to uh, establish justice in this government, for the people, by the people, of the people. That's why, uh, that is attributed to Abraham Lincoln, but it really is Wycliffe, in his preface to his translation of the Bible, where he says this Bible is for the government of the people, by the people, for the people. And so that's what Abraham Lincoln meant by that, is that this government, you know, it's us, and we have to establish what's right and what's true. And in El Paso, it really is needed because it's so broken. It's so broken everywhere you look. And that's what I want to talk about today. Um, because we're getting more and more information that even the AUSA, the Western District of Texas Attorney General's office for the Western, it's not a coincidence that Jaime Esparza was the DA during the Walmart mass shooting, and then he became the Attorney General, the AUSA. I hope I'm saying that right. The AUSA for the Western District of Texas. And under him was another assistant AUSA, Stephen Spitzer. And we have been, we communicated with Stephen Spitzer. He knows what's going on, okay? We communicated with him and with others, okay? And he was the prosecutor on the prosecuting team for the Walmart mass shooting case at the federal level. Because the Walmart mass shooting case is it's one case, but it's being tried at the federal level and then at the state level. And the federal level, it was agreed to, without, yeah, that was a deal and a half. That was a deal and a half. But the federal case already went through, and Patrick Crusius was pleaded guilty to 90 counts of hate crime and with a deadly weapon for 90 consecutive life sentences. And it's brutal. It's brutal because there's so many conflicts of interest. And Stephen Spitzer being on the prosecuting role because, he and we absolutely included him in all our information because he does the violent crimes in the AUSA, right? So absolutely, he was part of the prosecuting because this was a violent crime in the prosecuting, and so was Richards. So was Richards. But he was in the prosecuting team for against Patrick Crusius. But he knows Michael Mayella, the federal courthouse manager. Being the AUSA on the federal level, of course he knows. They're all into each other's business, but he has more conflicts of interest because they have a personal relationship. They attend the same religious institution, and they absolutely know each other really well. And you know, he knew that Patrick Crusius's brother married Michael Mayella's daughter. Okay, he knew that, and he knew that Patrick Crusius has a very big connection to El Paso, a family connection to El Paso. Um, he knew that, and he he hid that. He hid that, and he then put forth in the media that Patrick Crusius had no connections to El Paso. He was totally a newbie. He had no connections. That um, he just drove down because of hate. He, he what word am I looking for? He continued, or he even put forth that narrative of hate crimes. And because, if you have family in El Paso and you're connected to El Paso, you can't say, oh, this person just drove down to the border to commit hate crimes, right? So this is so egregious again. And knowing that Michael Mayella Jr. Um, was, here he is, a uh, cyber security technician, and a trained hacker, right? And he's working for Walmart, cybersecurity, the DA's office, and the El Paso FBI field office that is working together with Steven Spitzer in the prosecuting, because those agencies are the very agencies investigating the Walmart mass shooting. And, so the conflicts of interest just get deeper and deeper. And this is for an open checkbook, y'all. It's for an open checkbook, and they couldn't get it through fast enough. That open checkbook was unlocked by the application for appointed counsel. That application was approved so fast, they needed that key. That was the key that unlocked the open checkbook to taxpayers' funds. Unlimited taxpayer funds. But are they unlimited really? Are they unlimited to others? Because now there's an article that other counties uh, that have indigent, that means poor, indigent um, defendants can't get counsel because they ran out of money. They don't have any money. So I think the Walmart case, with all of its lawyers that just hooked onto it, and that open checkbook sucked out so much money that other defendants for other cases in other counties in Texas couldn't get appointed counsel. I couldn't get it. That's what is coming out right now, and that makes sense. So it's not totally unlimited, but how much did Joe Spencer take? And of course, Steven Spitzer allowed it. He allowed it because he absolutely had um, evidence and information from his own relationships that knew that Patrick Crucius um, had a broken brain, right? That he was absolutely connected to El Paso, very closely to El Paso, so close to El Paso to the very agencies that were investigating him. you know, I mean, that's how close he was to El Paso, to all the agencies that were investigating him. Um, that made him a patsy, right? That made him a patsy, and that we're collecting these enormous funds from this open checkbook, and then propagating the hate crime narrative, this false hate crime narrative, and still doing it. They're still doing it, y'all. They should be. Oh my gosh, they just need to be so prosecuted for that, because um, a trained individual will tell you how bad it is, how treasonous it is to propagate these false hate crime scenarios and allegations and all of that, dividing the people, hurting our country, absolutely dividing our country and hurting our country, and for a false story. There's no truth in it. And it's so criminal. It's absolutely so criminal. So, and these are men in suits. AUSA, Steven Spitzer, uh, you know, a well-known defense attorney, Joe Spencer, Judge Sam Madrano, Judge David Guadarrama, um, Michael Mayella, the federal courthouse manager who handles these cases and trials and everything. Um, And then even these stories with Lorraine Mayella, um, you know, earning fees for counseling the victims and victims' families of the Walmart mass shooting. I mean, it, this is clearly so stinky, right? And then you have the real kicker in all of this. They were so, gosh, they just fast tracked it. They don't fast track much, but they fast tracked the open checkbook, and they fast tracked the key to the open checkbook on August 4th, 2019 at 4:52 in the morning a.m. They fast tracked it. So the mass shooting, the massacre happened the day before at noon, right around 10:39, 10:39. Um, you know, and they fast tracked this application. The next day, on the 5th of August, so the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, 2 days later, we have it on audio that 2 days after the incident, Joe Spencer went into the jail to talk to Patrick Crucius. That means he was already appointed as the defense counsel. So they fast tracked that application so fast, and Joe Spencer got on that so fast. He didn't need to be convinced, right? He didn't need to be convinced because he got the open checkbook. But we have another audio. We've released it. It's called The Nickels and Dimes, and I need to post it again. And he said that he talked to Sam Madrano and David Guadarrama, Judge David Guadarrama, and said, okay, he would take this case, but he's not going to do it for nickels and dimes. He wants an open checkbook. Okay, when did that happen? When did that happen? When did that negotiation, that deal happen? It couldn't have happened on the 5th. Did it? I mean, did it happen that morning on the 5th? Like, oh yeah, we fast tracked it. You got an open checkbook, Joe. You don't have to ask twice. Did it happen? Did it happen on the 4th? Did it happen on the 4th right after uh the fast tracking of this approval of this application at 4:52 in the morning, or 5:42, sorry, 5:42 a.m., right? Um, did it happen? I mean, did it happen after it? I mean, because he's telling them, he didn't say, oh, they're going, we got it. I said it, and they said right away, we got it. We got it. Don't worry about it. No, he's talking about a pre-negotiation in my estimation of listening to the audio. So when did he have that conversation at? 5 o'clock in the morning on the 4th, or late in the night on the day of the incident? Something's very stinky with that. Something's very stinky, because I'm thinking um, there's a real possibility. This is not conspiracy. This is just looking at the evidence and saying and deducing, right? There is a real possibility that this happened before the event even occurred. There's a real possibility for that. And the way these people all are kowtowing to this open checkbook with all of these conflicts of interest that could absolutely ruin their career, everything that they worked for, everything. These are, it takes a lot to get your law license. And they have just compromised themselves left and right. Think about all the people that have compromised themselves with this false narrative, with white supremacy. And for what? Really, to go after President Trump. That's what it was for, whether you like them or not. That is exactly what they did. And Veronica Escobar poured fuel in their tank. She was their gas machine, right? She absolutely allowed them and participated in with Beto O'Rourke, with Chris Cuomo, with Ernest Christopher Grant. They all, with Stephen Spitzer, this false narrative to the people. And it's absolutely criminal. So how much did they all get? Because they had to be enticed by quite a bit of money to do what they're doing. I mean, I understand that we have people that really just hate Trump and will just whatever throw their whole career down the drain because they hate Trump I mean, really? I don't know. I think there was another enticement and one of those, um, this open checkbook money, and then also that they are part of the cartel tied criminal trafficking network in El Paso, Texas, going across that border. So that's what's kind of at 1:15 a.m. I really need to come on during the day when I'm very full of vim and vigor, full of vim and vigor, um, because this just needs some energy behind it um, to get across how serious this is and how this relates to Richard's case, where they absolutely tampered and colluded and conspired, and even conspired with the generals, and the generals were up to no good. So, and we'll be back on that because of General Kelly and General Garrett. Oh, sorry. It's time for bed, y'all. It's time for bed. But you can't sleep during this, right? You can't sleep. You're not allowed to sleep. You have to keep going. But no, we all need a fresh mind. And um, Donna Martin, Lieutenant General Donna Martin, and Sean Bernabe, totally up to no good. Clem Coward, um, David Stewart, up to no good, and Eisenhower, and of course Taylor. Um, yeah, I wonder what Taylor's, what is he thinking right now? Wow, because uh, there's a new sheriff in town, and a new commander in chief, and a new magistrate. Um, because chief magistrate, because the president is the chief magistrate. So we'll see. Um, Nothing's going to be perfect, but I'm telling you, things are amazing how we're getting more and more help. You saw Ted Cruz with President Trump yesterday or day before yesterday. Well, the time is going by so fast. Yeah, so we're getting more and more help all the time. And we're very grateful for Washington, D.C. and the help that we're getting. So, and the main one of the main um, charges that the military has is to arrest these narco politicians, these those that are aiding and abetting. And I think what Steven Spitzer did was aid and abet. Um, so I'll leave that to the law enforcement to determine, but it's looking pretty bad. So for him. So thank you so much. We're going to get justice. And, like I said, uh, share this information. And you can even do your own FOIAs. You can even do your own complaints, especially if you're in El Paso. You need to absolutely make known that you're not going to tolerate this kind of deprivation of honest services for your tax money, right? So, thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.